This is called Jazz for Hayes Greenfield. Hayes plays Teddy's on Wednesdays, but when Hayes plays sax out his third-floor window for me on the street on a rainy Monday, and the last soft notes Hayes plays drift down, ordained as rain and as intended. On this necessary pleasure, I fly from under my red umbrella, from my practices, my plodding certainties, from each of my accepted cares into music, that pure and universal air. Do you know the British folk custom of saying rabbits, rabbits, rabbits when you wake up the first of the month? I see some people nodding, yes. So supposedly, if you say that on the first of the month, you'll have good luck for the remainder of the month. Yeah. So this is called Rabbits, Rabbits, Rabbits 2180. When I leave you this morning, I go to the clinic with a volume of poems in my pocket. But I can't suffer the pain of another woman's love or absorb her losses because I am so full of pleasure. Sir, what is your pleasure? I am that full I could hardly take the sun of my eyes on my way here. So I sit and wonder why the woman beside me has a face full of wrinkles above her pregnant belly. And if that is the same story as my book of poems, while around us the white nurses flit in Chinese and Spanish and English to the dyke doctor whom I love. In fact, I love everyone today as usual, and this pinkly dressed Chinese baby takes the cake. Although that's what I wanted to save for you. The cake, I mean, for you to have and eat with your soft mouth. I don't want to lose yet. Oh, don't run. I don't run around trailing my life like a string. It's this simple. Before I was with you, now I'm here. Hotter than July, 1982. Only the messengers and me out riding on 90-degree Fifth Ave this morning. A young man shakes a stop sign to get my attention. Is it my hair braided and wound, the purple shirt, the silver in my ears, or all these years of dodging traffic and compliments? Anyway, happy and 48 now, sweat stained, weaving among cars. I hope I die like this, looking good and moving fast. This is the title poem of my first collection. It was a little chapbook. Having been her. On the bus from Newark to New York, the baby pukes into the fox collar of her only coat. She wipes the collar and the baby's soft face, then takes her toddler by the hand and heads for the subway, where the toddler sleeps at her knee and she herself stares out the window over the head of the sleeping baby. She's 27 and very tired. Let me always support her, having been her, befriend her. This is called Welcome to Our Crowd. I've slept in every room except the kitchen, and that includes alone or with others in symphony or cacophony. Now the man in his socks, the one asleep on his own pillow, the tender lover, curious youth, bossy fuck. All these clothed and naked visions are sharing particular angles of light, the rushed or lingering presence of time. They hang off the splintering beams. On the uneven floor, we all lie down in layers, a hologram of lovers, his pillow under another one's head, the constant drift of old perfume, a jacket left behind on a chair, shoes later buried with the dead. They needed heels. The jacket is minus a button, torn sheets, the windows unwashed. We breathe and don't breathe, lie, pass in the hall, fall into all our arms, live again, gone soon. I also, I should mention, other than riding a bicycle, which I still do, I wrote a lot about driving. I guess it was a metaphor for my freedom. Hard drive. Saturday, the stuffed bears were up again over the Major Deacon, dancing in plastic along the bridge rail, under a sky half misty, half blue, and there were white clouds blowing in from the west, which would have been enough for one used to pleasure in small doses. But then later, at sunset, driving north along the sawmill in a high wind with clouds big and drifting above the road like animals proud of their pink underbellies, in a moment of intense light, I saw an Edward Hopper house, at once so exquisitely light and dark that I cried all the way up Route 22, those uncontrollable tears, as though the body were crying. And so, young women, here's the dilemma itself, the solution. I have always been, at the same time, woman enough to be moved to tears and man enough to drive my car in any direction. My body, my bio. When you get old enough, you'll see. My body, my bio, my belly scarred early, my skeleton lately. Feet the last hold out. Toe hold on memory of corporeality, bare and pedal to the metal. People ask me all the time, why do you do it? How do you do it? Or whatever do you do? So this is called In Answer to Your Question. I write a hall of mirrors, risky distortions to shatter repose. I write from fear, from what I can't know. But I write on the high horse of my life, and I write with time in my one good hand. In addition to writing about me and my driving and everything, I write political poems. I've always been involved in political actions and the like. So this is called 20 Lines for 2010. In Grand Central's molded plastic waiting room chairs, you can sleep sitting up with an eye out. Beside me, a guy's lower half is disguised in a sleeping bag. Is he legless? Is that his stash? Why have we abandoned him to the waiting room? In the neatly squared hem of the bag, there's not much space for a hat or his laundry. And he's live and in your face, so America, get going, or he's only one of many coming. Usually I write a poem for the new year and I send it out on a postcard to various people, sort of to remind them, pay attention. So this was this year's, last January. January moon of hard times. This is what the Lakota called it. Under this moon, when all Lakota had hard times, we who have taken their place in our hard times have instead haves and have-nots. Moon of little food, fierce weather, heartland winters, you had to have heart. The had for the hadn't for all, to hold on, hold off the hard time. Shine, moon of hard times, see us through this one. I began writing laments for women in countries I didn't know, whose physicians I read about in the newspaper, whose lives touched me. Lament for Turkish suicide, age 22. What she wanted was more, school or a job. Anyway, she got herself a tight skirt. She didn't want to live hiding herself. But her father burned her skirt and then 3 people beat her bloody. She lived just long enough to write that she wanted to die. Then she climbed some stairs and stepped into the air and left the fabric of her brief life. George referred to the fact that I worked with prisoners, and I ran a workshop at the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility for about a dozen years until they threw me out when the world changed. It was just after 2001. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not even 5 feet tall. I could certainly not be a terrorist. I'm too recognizable. But anyway, this is a poem that I wrote about the prison. It's called Mother Moon. Mother Moon surfs the sky, rides the white-capped clouds. Mother Moon is a visitor over the Bedford Hills Penitentiary. Climbing the barbed wire, the old brick, the young woman wondering whether she'll bleed to death. Mother Moon is like me. She knows when to say correctional facility. Mother Moon over the parking lot, diving into the potholes on the highway. Mother Moon is bringing in the harvest. You know she grows cocaine. Mother Moon, she's bad sometimes. She's big, she turns the tide, and every double X chromosome blood is only one card. We are way past what they say defines us. We renew. Mother Moon rise high. We too, we change. I guess this is a political poem, but I'll read it tonight for you guys. It's called Weather. My folder of poems labeled Weather holds no clues as to whether or not there'll be any. Whether to count on, say, a hard rain like little nails, or that deluge plunging radiant. Now that we've plunged into war, and wars don't stop like rain stops, like that last slow drizzle onto the old tin bathroom vent, sweet hint of growth in the soft, wet drift north. Fire or ice, fire or ice, are you breathing? Are you lucky enough to be breathing? I was asked sometime in the 80s to contribute to an art project on homelessness. And I said, but I don't know anything about homelessness. I've lived in the same place for such a long time, since the 60s, and now for almost 50 years. But anyway, I made a little house. And in that time, in all over New York, especially the Bronx, you would see boarded up windows with X's in them. So in the X, homeless tempest tossed with no direction home, broken home, homesick, can't go home again. Home, deep to the heart as the truth strikes home. Ladybug, ladybug, fly away home. Home in. Home is a sailor home from the sea. The hunter home from the hills. Welcome home. Safe home. Home port. Home base. Harvest home. Home of the brave. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Chickens come home to roost. Charity begins at home. Home is where the heart is. Home is where you hang your hat. Home, sweet home, make yourself at home. You'd be so nice to come home to. Something to write home about. A man's home is his castle. Keep the home fires burning till the cows come home, lassie. Come home, bring home the bacon for hearth and home. Home brew, don't leave home without it. To market, to buy up that pig. Home again, jiggity jig. This little piggy stayed home, ate us out of house and home. Home folks, homegrown, homebound, homeboy, homegirl, home team, home game, home run, home flight, down home, homestead, home front, home ground, home stretch, all the way home, home at last, home free. Thank you.